Okay, there we go. Good evening, everybody. Trust everybody as well. This is ZS6 OPS standing by for check-ins for this week's net. All right, let's acknowledge ZS6 FPS and ZS6 SNY. And I've got ZR6 Papa November. What's your call sign there again, Fani? I forgot your call sign. It's not up on screen. Let's just confirm that. ZR6 Papa November. ZR6 Papa November up on Zoom. ZS6 OPS standing by. Okay, I need to fix something here. Okay, acknowledging ZS6 JFK. Good evening there, Chris. ZS6 OPS standing by for further check-ins. Okay, 1903. Let's see if anybody else is out there ready to check in. ZS6 OPS standing by. $19.04, second last call for check-ins. ZS6 OPS standing by. Okay, Adrian, I don't know what happened to your video. Okay, 1905, last call for check-ins, and then I'll begin. ZS6 IPS standing by.
I killed it. Bandwidth on this side need to conserve a bit of bandwidth.
Okay. I thought you'd run into a Windows problem like I did. Okay, nothing else heard there. I think let's get started. Good evening. Today is Sunday, the 16th of October, 2022. The time is now 1906. We usually start at 1900 with check-ins. Those that wish to join this net using Zoom, I join the meeting now. Zoom is open. If you do not have the Zoom link, please contact me on WhatsApp. I'll give you the number in a minute or two, and I'll send you the link with the greatest of pleasure. We usually begin the amateur radio check-ins on the Roodepoort repeater, and once completed, we continue with the net. So as I said, greetings to one and all, and welcome to this week's net. This week's net, or this weekly net, is broadcast every Sunday evening at 1900 and is broadcast on selected amateur radio frequencies and on Zoom for the benefit of both radio amateurs and members of the public and any other interested parties. Everyone is welcome to join in and to participate either via either of these two platforms. I would like to remind all amateur radio listeners who have not checked in that you do not need to be an amateur or you do not need to be a member of any group or club to check in or to use the repeater or any of the amateur radio bands. Let me clear the timer quickly. All that is required from you is that you have a valid amateur radio license issued by ECRN. The license issued by ECRN grants you the right to use any of the amateur radio bands at any time, and there is no need for you to ask for permission or be granted permission from any other person, party, body, club, or otherwise in order to use these bands. Also, be advised that this weekly net is not broadcast for the benefit of radio amateurs or disaster relief CERT volunteers. The net is open to all members of the public as well. I therefore would like to encourage you to share the weekly net's Zoom link with everyone they know throughout the entire country. Doing so will help us grow the weekly net and will also contribute to disseminating information as far and wide as possible. So, moving on, it's time to unpack the weekly COVID-19 figures. We kick off by reporting that a total of 624,502,005 new cases were reported, or in total at least. Compared to last week's total figure, 621 million. This is a total of 3,260,000 new cases having been reported this week, whereas last week we reported a increase of 3,278,000. That gives us 18,000 decrease in cases on a week-by-week basis. The previous week, however, there was an increase of 107,000. So that's quite a big difference and drop in number of cases having been reported. I must remind the listeners that several countries at least have adjusted their testing and reporting protocols. And South Africa has been one of them. The death toll globally is now at 6,567,070 compared to last week's total of 6,556,000. This is an increase of 10,100 deaths this week, whereas last week we had a total of 10,244. So not much of a change in this last week. South Africa, on the other hand, has seen a slight decrease in new cases for the week ending 12 October 2022. That is for week 40. This week, a total of ZS6OPS returning after the timer clearing. This week, a total of 1,532 new cases were reported in South Africa and a total of 18 deaths, compared to last week's total of 1,507 deaths. That's a decrease of 58 cases and an increase of 11 deaths compared to the previous week's figures. Now, as I said earlier, South Africa has also applied that new sort of reporting protocol to only do it once a week. The total number of testings being conducted, I unfortunately don't want to report on at this stage, although I can tell you that the numbers have been reduced overall. Now, let's move on to monkeypox, as this is still on an increase, not as much as what we saw last week, but globally, we got 73,000 cases, 73,000 cases in total for the week compared to last week's 71, and that was only an increase of 1,850. A lot lower than the previous week. So I don't know if the change of the season has actually affected things here. Where we've seen figures sort of bottoming out, and then maybe once we move into the summer and winter months on either side of the equator, we might see a change taking place. So this week, 1,850 new cases, whereas the previous week was 2,900. South Africa has not reported any new cases, and therefore I think we still stand at 5 cases and no deaths being reported. As I said last week, as the saying goes, no news is always good news, and let's hope it stays that way. Okay, ZS6OPS returning after clearing the timer. World Health Organization news. This week decided to include the WHO's additional news outside of the COVID-19, if possible. However, COVID-19 still seems to be at the forefront of all news media cycles. The WHO has reported that most countries have reduced their surveillance drastically, while testing and sequencing rates are also much lower, which is blinding the World Health Organization to the evolution of the virus and the impact of current and future variants. The WHO also reports several countries in Europe are now reporting an increase in COVID-19 cases, hospitalizations, and deaths, indicating a new wave of COVID-19. However, they have made no mention of any new variants. And that's basically all the news that I have. We still have our usual day-to-day activities taking place. Pakistan trying to recover. Afghanistan still suffering consequences. Various parts of the world are suffering load shedding as we are. They don't see it as load shedding. They're having power outages and all the rest of it. So let's hear if there are any late joiners to the net this evening, and I'll add you to the list, and then we'll move on from there. ZS6OPS standing by. Okay, nobody else want to add their names to the list? Christelle has joined us on Zoom as well. Good evening, Christelle. And of course, this is the time that I ask if anybody's got any questions that they want to raise on Zoom. If you have, just let me know quickly. Give me a thumbs up, give me a thumbs down. As long as you only use the thumb, I'll be happy. And of course, Chris, if you want to ask anything, add anything, let me know now. Fani, you'd have to actually unmute and say something. So ZS6OP is standing by. Okay, nothing else heard. I'd like to thank all of those who have checked in this week, as well as those who have joined via Zoom. And as the COVID-19 pandemic is still ongoing and infecting millions weekly, please remember to physically distance yourself and to wear a mask in order to protect others, especially the elderly who could lose their lives if infected. And it's always best to sanitize or wash your hands on a regular basis. For this week moving forward, be safe, be prepared, and of course, be happy. Be like me. Just don't stir. This is ZS6 OPS, now releasing 145.625 for general use. Cheers all.